Good afternoon. I'm Sandy Bauman, the Sustainability Coordinator here at the UNT Health Science Center. Welcome to Cooking 101, where we'll be learning basic cooking skills to reduce our environmental footprint and also learn how to be healthier. This event is offered through HSC Sustainability, which is a student-funded initiative through facilities management. And it's also part of our virtual Earth Day series that is happening now through April 30th. In fact, employees and students can get this free water bottle for participating. Just go to unthsc.edu/earthday to learn more. So today we have Jekka Cisco, Program Manager at the Blue Zones Fort Worth, and she'll be demonstrating basic cooking skills and showing us how we can reduce our footprint and be healthier. By knowing basic cooking skills, we can reduce our consumption of processed food, which is healthier and also has great environmental benefits. This session also focuses on plant-based eating, which is, again, healthier for us, and plants generally use less water and energy than meat options. So feel free to put comments in the chat section and also ask questions. We'll be taking questions after her cooking demonstration. And this is in collaboration with Blue Zones Project, and we're so happy to have Jekka here. Thank you for joining us.
Well, hey guys, good afternoon. Thank you, Sandy, for the introduction. My name is Jekka Cisco. I'm the program manager with the Blue Zones Project here in the city of Fort Worth. So this is our April Live Well series, focusing on plant-based eating. And like Sandy said, reducing your carbon footprint wherever you go. So first things first, what is Blue Zones Project? If you are unaware of what Blue Zones Project is, it is a community-wide well-being improvement initiative. We work with schools, restaurants, grocery stores, work sites, city policy, and individuals like you to make healthy choices easier. So a little bit about Blue Zones. There are 5 original Blue Zones throughout the world, and we've got Okinawa, Japan, Sardinia, Italy, Ikaria, Greece, Loma Linda, California, and then Nicoya Peninsula, Costa Rica. And so why are these the Blue Zones? Dan Buettner, our founder, traveled the world, found these places. These are longevity hotspots, so people are living to be over 100. They're living to be over 100 with no chronic disease, no issues, just really thriving well into 80s, 90s, 100 years old. So he took a blue Sharpie, circled on the map, and said, this is it. This is the Blue Zones. So there's no correlation between blue and health. So here in the city of Fort Worth, the project has been around for quite some time, where Fort Worth actually became a certified Blue Zones community back in 2018. So what we have been striving to do is teach people the lifestyle principles that are based off these original Blue Zones. And you've got what we refer to as the Power 9. So I'll go through those real quick, and then we'll dive into cooking. So the first thing is why we're here today. Plant slant. So people who were living longer were eating more fruits and veggies. Their diet was predominantly made of fruits, veggies, whole grains. Meat was more of like celebratory. It wasn't an everyday thing. So first things first, plant slant. And then talking about food, they had 80% rule. So they ate mindfully. So this is about, eating until you're 80% full rather than overeating and being super stuffed. So that's about slowing down, being mindful with your food, respecting the food as it respects you and nourishes your body. Next thing is purpose. So we actually host free purpose workshops out in the community. Studies show people who are living to be longer actually live their life on purpose. So waking up for purpose rather than just a paycheck. So check out our website and our Facebook page to learn more about the events that we offer. Next, we've got Family First. So people in the Blue Zone areas, they put their family first. And what does that look like for us? That means when it comes to sitting at the dinner table, it means putting your phone away, being connected, looking up to your elders for wisdom, not just, ignoring their advice, right? Putting family first and connecting with your family. Next, we have Right Tribe, surrounding yourself with healthy, like-minded people. So if you are ever trying to start a new habit or regimen of some sort, it really helps to have that right tribe around you. I know when I've done one marathon, and when I was training for it, there's no way I was going to wake up at 5 a.m. and run on my own without my tribe. All right, so finding your people, connect with them. The next thing is we have belong, and so this could be they all tie together if you're seeing a theme here, right? So finding those places that you belong. This can be a faith-based organization. It can be a yoga studio, an art class, a book club. But find your people and find where you belong, right? How good does it feel to walk into a room, making eye contact with people who are like-minded, give them a hug, ask them how their day's been, how their family's been, having that connection rather than walking into a room and feeling like you're not wanted, right? We've all been there and we don't really want to go there. So talking about happiness and health, finding those places that you belong and attend regularly. Next thing is social connection. This all falls in line with it. So in Sardinia, Italy, they had a glass of red wine. Okinawa, Japan, they're having sake. Loma Linda, California, they're having a cup of tea. But the point is they were connecting. They were connecting and they were talking to one another. You know, if 2020 taught us anything, it's that we can't do this alone, right? We've got to find our people. We have to socially connect. And the next one is downshifting. So this is, you know, like I said, they all kind of run together. So downshifting is finding ways to stress less. Find those ways and tap into them, right? Whether it is meditation, it's yoga, journaling, going for a walk, but turning to healthy ways to stress less. Because reality is we're never going to be unstressful, right? It's not that these people in the blue zone areas didn't have stress, right? Reality is we all have stress, and we're always going to have stress. It's about how you manage it. So finding ways to downshift. And then last but not least, which is my absolute favorite, is going to be moving naturally. So finding ways to move more. You'll see throughout the city of Fort Worth, Blue Zone's parking spots. They're at the very back of the parking lot. They're there for a reason, right? Because if you park further away, you're going to get more steps in your day. So parking further away, taking the stairs, finding ways to move naturally. So that's Blue Zone's project in a nutshell. And like I said, we work all throughout the community, schools, restaurants, grocery stores, work sites, and city policy to make these choices healthier. These little nudges throughout your day are going to really increase your overall health and happiness. All right, and so today, in honor of Earth Day celebration, so happy that we're collaborating with Health Science Center here. We're going to make a Buddha bowl. Now, Buddha bowl. Buddha bowl is actually not something that Buddha ate, right? They're just called Buddha bowls because it's a bowl of colorful, beautiful food. And so this is going to be a plant-based recipe. You know, like I just said, in the Blue Zone areas, they add more of a predominantly plant-based diet. So first things first, what's going to be in our bowl? We're going to have sweet potato, broccoli. We're going to make a really yummy avocado, poblano pepper, garlic, cilantro sauce, some squash, some black beans, and some purple cabbage. All of these have a great nutrition profile, and we're going to cook them all differently. So I'm going to show you different ways to cook these vegetables. First things first is whenever you're cooking something like this, you want to start with the thing that's going to take the longest. And in this case, it's going to be our sweet potato. So I'm just going to roast our sweet potato. And so I've got my oven set at 450. So then what I'm going to do is just chop the sweet potato. I believe the camera switches to seeing me chop now. Okay, so, you know, you chop off the ends, and, you know, word to the wise, like, a lot of people take these and just throw them away. Well, actually, you can save these and make a veggie broth with that, or you can compost it, and we'll talk more about that here in a bit. But what you want to do when you're cutting a sweet potato, or a potato, or anything that's, like, harder or thicker, you want it to be cut even. Right? So if you have like a really thick chunk and a really thin chunk, they're not going to cook evenly. So most important thing when you're cutting something like a potato is making it even. Whoop. And throwing potatoes at myself. So there we go. So as you can see here, I wouldn't want to use this with this piece, right? Because that's going to be uneven, and then one's going to be burnt, and one's not going to be cooked right, and then you're going to be mad because your food's not going to be good. All right, so, and a trick, too, is if you are cooking for a lot of people, you've got a lot of sweet potatoes to cook, chop it up, throw it in the microwave for 5 minutes just to soften it up, and then roast it. That's going to cut down on the time. All right, then I'm going to take just olive oil. And this is true for roasting any veggies. You're just going to put a little olive oil on your pan. Lost for words here. And then throw the veggies on there. And like I said, this is true if you're roasting any veggie. So any veggie, you chop it up and make sure they're in even pieces. Throw them on your pan with a little bit of olive oil. And then you're just going to shake it around. And then put just a little bit more. Not much. And another way of doing this is putting it in a bowl and mixing it up that way. Okay, and then most importantly is seasoning it. So with sweet potatoes, what I'm going to do is a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. And you can see when you season stuff, you just want to put enough to cover it around, right? And then I'm going to do a little bit of garlic. And I personally like spice, so I'm going to do a little bit of cayenne. I like how everything's just a little bit. Wouldn't want a bit of anything, right? All right, and then some cinnamon. And the reason I like to add, if you ever, I think cinnamon and cayenne go really good with the sweet potato because it brings out the sweetness and then adds a little kick to it. So there we go. So we're just going to throw this in the oven for 20 minutes. All right. Let's see, timer. Start that. There's an error. Okay. This is obviously not my oven that we use at home. There we go. Okay. Well, we'll watch the clock. It's 12:11. Either way, in 20 minutes, we'll make sure that those get taken out. All right, next thing I'm going to do, so like I said, we are going to cook these veggies in different ways. We're going to roast, we're going to saute, and we're going to steam. So now I've got a steamer here, so you've just got water underneath, and then this goes on top, and I'm going to get that boiling, get that going, and so I'm going to steam some broccoli, and then I'm going to saute my yellow squash. So turn this on, and sauteing and steaming do not take long, all right? So taking my yellow squash, and you cut off the ends. You want to save them. Like I said, you can make a broth, and we'll talk about how you actually make a veggie broth from your leftovers rather than just chunking them out. Okay, and then, again, if you've learned anything so far, it's that you want everything to kind of be the same size so they cook at the same rate. All right. Cut those in half. Put those in half. And I'm not going to throw them in the pan just yet because I want to get my water warm for the broccoli. So prep that, and now we're going to take some broccoli. Fun fact about broccoli is actually a lot of the vitamins and minerals are in this stalk right here. The florets are really good for fiber. So think of the florets as like little scrubber brushes for your inside. But if you want to really get the nutrition and the nutrients, eat the stalk. So the best thing you can do, cut this little end off, and when you have that, when I eat the stalk, just cut it into pretty good bite size. Then, or you could actually just take the stalk and actually boil that and just snack on that. But definitely eat the whole broccoli, not just the florets. Definitely will cut down on food waste. Got that. Okay, and let's check the water. Not boiling yet, but it will be. So then I'll start sauteing. All right, this is getting warm here. And again, just a little bit of olive oil to coat the pan. And then to saute a veggie, most important thing is you don't want your heat too high. So if you know the cooking shows and they've got fire and flames and all this stuff, that's a big mistake a lot of times when people are trying to cook veggies or saute them. They get their pan way too high. I'm speaking from experience, right? When I was a kid, my dad was like, would you get out of the kitchen? Because I thought it was so fun to get it as hot and just basically burn all the food that I was cooking, which did nothing good for anyone. So you want to have this around medium heat, not too hot. And we'll throw those in there. And let them go. And then checking my water. It's starting to get a little warm, so I'm going to throw my broccoli in there. And what I like about this little steamer is you can see what's going on. And I'll show you what that looks like. You need to cut that up a little more. What that looks like to be done. Okay, so this is multitasking at its finest. We are cooking veggies 3 different ways, all at one time. So just let that go. Yeah, and you want it to be enjoyable, obviously not scorching your veggies. Just let them saute and then let the broccoli, it's going to start steaming as soon as the water starts to boil. and the sweet potatoes are cooking. Good rule of thumb in the kitchen is clean as you go. Something I also learned in my adult years. I think before it looked like a tornado came through the kitchen. And then I was like, if you just clean as you go, it's a lot easier. So good thing is we're not making too much of a mess with what we're making today. So you take your scraps, save these, and what you're going to do with these is you can save these and boil them with water and make your own veggie stock. So instead of buying vegetable broth or something like that, you can make your own veggie stock that way, or you can compost. And the city of Fort Worth actually started a pilot composting program, which is so good for the environment. You're actually putting it back into the soil, which is what we want to do, rather than just putting it into trash. So with this, I'm going to save this. I'll put that to the side. We're going to so it's sauteing. All right, and then you turn it over. You see how it's a little brown? That's how I prefer my squash. Not burnt, so if you like it scorched, go for it. And if you are trying to stay away from olive oil or something like that, you can actually use a broth to saute your veggies in, which is going to be lower on the fat content, all depending upon what your dietary needs are. But fat is actually a really good thing for the body. Every cell in your body needs fat, and it needs real fat. And fat actually does something to your brain. It's like it tells your brain that you're full. So the more fat, if you can remember this, fat means you're full. And I'm talking about the good fats like avocado and olive oil, not your, partially hydrogenated or trans fat. Those are the bad fats. And I hate using the word good or bad, but some food really does good for your body, and then some food not as good. So this is what you want it to look like when you're sauteing. And keep this in mind if you ever have a big pan and lots of different veggies that you're sauteing together. They cook differently, right? So if I had broccoli in this pan with my squash, the broccoli is going to take a lot longer to cook than the squash would. So just keep that in mind when you're sauteing things together. So this is pretty much where I want it, so I'm going to shut this off. All right. And clean as I go. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to make the sauce. And all that requires is this cup here. We've got a poblano pepper. We've got garlic. We've got an avocado. Little tip on when you are shopping for an avocado and you want to know if it's ripe or not. There's a little pit here, and you just take that off. And then if you look at the tip here, that color is going to tell you what it's going to look like on the inside. So when you take that off and it's like bright green, the avocado is hard, it's not going to be ripe. But when it looks like this and it's pretty soft, that means this avocado is super ripe. All right. Now, I'm going to open that up. And so for this recipe, we're making a cilantro avocado sauce. And it's just the recipe is 1 avocado. Be careful cutting that pit out. I was doing a cooking demo one time when I first started doing these, and I definitely sliced my finger open. This was back when you could give samples of the food, and I was like, well, we're not going to eat this today. That's just a little personal story for you. So put the avocado in there. And avocados have vitamin E, vitamin E, C, K, B6, fat keeps you full. And also, so talking about food, right? So what we're making today has carbs, protein, and fat, right? And those are the macronutrients that your body needs. You need all three, and ideally you have all three at each meal. Why? Carbs give you the most energy. Protein are the building blocks, and then fat is what's going to keep you full, and actually fat is a carrier. Fat carries all the vitamins and minerals from your food to the rest of your body. So if you don't have the complete meal of all three macronutrients, then you're not going to be as full. And what's the point of eating if you're not going to get full if you're just going to be hungry later? Doesn't sound too fun. So we've got a whole avocado in here. And then this recipe, you can use poblano or you could use jalapeno if you want something a little bit spicier. It's all up to you. So I'm going to, and if you ever want something to be a lot spicier, put the seeds in from your pepper. But if you're like, I don't want it that spicy, leave the seeds out. I'm going to slice this up. When you're putting things into a blender, you want to chop it up as small as possible. All right. That in there. While I'm doing that, just checking on my broccoli. All right, it's steaming now, but should have had that going before, but I'll show you what it looks like when it should be done. Okay, we've got poblano pepper, and then I'm going to add the juice of 2 limes. So if you ever get limes and they're super hard, just roll them out. That's going to soften them up. And we'll just put that in there, and I've got this fancy little lime juicer. It's not that fancy. It just makes juicing a lime a lot easier. So I've got 1 avocado, 1 poblano, 2 limes. All right, and then I'm going to add 2 garlic cloves. Clean that up. Get this out of the way. So you get a head of garlic. You know, I was cooking, I gave someone a recipe one time, and they said, oh, I put 2 garlic cloves in there. They put 2 heads of garlic in their food, which made it super garlicky. So a garlic clove is just this little guy. And then that one. So real quick, this is what your broccoli, can you guys, okay, yeah, you can see it. So this is like where you want it, where I think it's really good. It's al dente. It's going to be a little bit hard, not too soft. I don't know if you guys have ever had, like, you go to a restaurant and sometimes you get steamed broccoli and it's well over steamed and it's just mush. I don't want that for this, so we'll take this off the heat. Turning the heat off. All right, back to our sauce. You just peel off. And if it doesn't peel off, like the skin of the garlic, the outer shell, you just take your knife, press down, and then that comes off like that. Super easy. And the cool thing about garlic is one of the best things you can put in your body for anti-inflammatory, and it boosts your immune system. So if you ever feel a cold coming on, if you can stand it, eat a whole clove of garlic, or chop it up and put it on a cracker. But this is one of the best things you put in your body if you feel like you're getting sick. All right, so we're going to put our garlic in there. And then, last but not least, is cilantro for this sauce. For cilantro, just grab about that much. And you can just chop this whole thing up and put it in there. The great thing about herbs, and especially cilantro, is that it's high in antioxidants. So when we say antioxidants, it stops the oxidation. It stops the oxygen and going, creating free radicals in the body, which in turn leads to things later, right? Because your cells are always regenerating, repairing, and so what you eat literally becomes your cells. You are what you eat. So if you're putting things in your body that are anti-inflammatory and things like cilantro, that are antioxidant, your cells are going to be a lot healthier, which in turn is going to make you a lot healthier. And then maybe you say, well, how do I know if I'm eating the right things? Well, look at your body. Listen to what your body is telling you. Your body will let you know if you've got enough or not enough of something, right? So look at the whites of your eyes. Look at the skin, at your skin color. Check in with your sleep. All of those things contribute to your overall health, and it's a product of what you're putting into your body. So that's for the sauce. We've got avocado, we've got your garlic, we've got poblano pepper, and then cilantro, and I'm going to top it off with some olive oil. Okay, and then you're going to put just a little bit of water. And NutriBullet makes life easy. You just put the lid on there. see that? Let's see. Move this out of the way. And if you don't have a NutriBullet, you can just put this in a normal bullet, in a normal blender. Shake it around. It makes a really nice creamy sauce. Shake it around. You want to make sure there's no chunks in there. All right, I'm just going to check it. And I'm going to make sure it tastes right. Pretty good, but I'm going to add some salt. And when you're cooking, like, always taste your food in between to make sure it tastes right. Like, if you don't like the way that it tastes, change the seasoning. Or add something, take something away. And by take something away, I mean leveling it out, like evening it out, right? If this was, like, this may be too thick for some people, so you could add in some water. You could add in, really water would thin it out. You could add more oil in there, but then you might get too much oil. Too greasy of a sauce. Now I'm going to put just a little bit of cayenne. Always be careful with the cayenne. Not too much. All right. Let that go. Okay. All right, then you've got this nice avocado, cilantro, garlicky, peppery, delicious-y, which isn't a word, I just made it up, that tastes really good. Okay, so the sauce is done. Put that to the side. And then we'll start to make our bowl. Check on the potatoes. Ooh, which they are almost done. Okay, so to build this Buddha bowl, this bowl of basically veggies. Last thing. So we've got veggies 4 ways, and the last way is going to be raw. Now, to really hold the nutrition content of your veggies, eat them raw. That's the best way. That's the best thing you can do. But, little tip, if you're new to eating raw vegetables, be careful, because the fiber content is super high. So a lot of people say, oh, I tried to eat plant-based and it made me bloated and I felt terrible. Well, that's because you're not used to eating 30 grams of fiber a day, right? And the recommended amount for females is 25 grams of fiber for females and 35 grams of fiber for males. So if you're not sure how much fiber you're getting, you can start tracking it or ask yourself, how many servings of fruits and veggies have I had today? And ideally, you want to have anywhere from 5 to 9. And if you can, a really rock star eater is going to eat about 11 servings a day, which seems hard, but if you start putting in veggies and fruit at each meal, it's not going to be that hard. And a lot of times, like, half a cup of broccoli is a serving. So don't think that you've got to have 8 cups of broccoli to have 8 servings, right? 8 cups of broccoli is actually 16 servings of veggies. So I've got cabbage here. And what I'm going to do is just peel off this top layer. And cabbage is so good for you. It's very high in fiber. And it's high in the insoluble fiber. So it doesn't like break down as easy, but what that does is adds bulk to the rest of your food. So it's easier to leave the body, right? So you get a lot of nutrition from the food that you eat, but you want to make sure you get what you need and then it leaves your body, right? And rather than staying around or storing it somewhere or secreting into other things. So high in fiber, and of course all your vitamins and minerals with this cabbage here. And the cool thing about cabbage is it lasts a really long time. If you ever buy cabbage, put it in your fridge, it's going to be there for a long time until you get done using it. So something you could do with cabbage, you can peel this off and make cabbage tacos with the leaves. That's one thing you can do. You can steam cabbage. You can just chop it like we're going to use today. And the reason I picked up this purple cabbage is for the color. When you're eating and you want to eat healthier, like have fun with your food and make it look pretty. That's part of it, right? If your food doesn't look good, you're probably not going to think it's going to taste very good. So if you're trying to eat healthier and make it enjoyable, add color. And veggies are one of the easiest ways to do that. So we're just going to chop that up. So in our Buddha bowl, we have a roasted sweet potato, sauteed squash, steamed broccoli, black beans, and this really nice avocado sauce. So checking those potatoes one more time. They're almost done, and I realized that I'm going to use my towel because I did not bring an oven mitt. So don't do this at home. Use an oven mitt. All right, so that was 20 minutes, and those are done. We'll turn this off. Everything's off. Always double check and make sure your stove's off and your oven's off. Just safety there. So to build the bowl, we're going to start with some black beans. Now, in the blue zone areas, beans were a staple of their food. And there's a reason why. They're really a longevity food. The cool thing about beans is they've got carbs, they've got protein, they've got lots of fiber, so they're going to keep you full. So I'm just going to do, and this is your bowl, so you can put as much as you want. And all I did was take I didn't have time to cook the beans myself. I know, terrible. But I just got a can of black beans, opened it, rinsed it, and there we go. So start with black beans. And like I said earlier, when you're building your plate, you want to have all the macronutrients, carbs, protein, and fat, which are going to help keep you full. So we're going to start with our beans, which are going to be our main protein source. But also, fun fact, all of these veggies here, you're going to get about a couple grams of protein from your sweet potato, maybe another gram from your squash, a couple grams from your broccoli, some from your avocado sauce, and a little bit from your cabbage. So you're actually going to end up getting a pretty decent amount of protein in your plant-based bowl. I get a lot of feedback, oh, well, I'm not going to have enough protein if I go plant-based. Well, that's not true. Everything has a little bit of protein, especially if you add beans into it. So a cup of beans has somewhere around 18 grams of protein. And really, the body can't digest more than about 25 grams per serving. So even if you're going and you're having 30, 40 grams of protein, it's overload. And it's overload on the body, it's overload on the kidneys. So you want to really stay within that 25 gram range per serving. So I've got my black beans. Then I'm going to add, see, these are perfect. Not too crispy. And remember, we seasoned these pretty good. So these are going to add a lot of great flavor to the bowl. A little bit of sweet, a little bit of spicy. And you can imagine if you're making this for a bunch of people, you would just make more. Or, food prep, big time saver. It's always good to have a plan when you're trying to make healthy changes. So if you wanted to meal prep on a Sunday, make a ton of veggies in a different way and build your own bowls. And the cool thing is, nothing's really going to go bad, right? There's no meat or dairy on here that you have to necessarily heat up. So then we're going to add my squash. All right, and then broccoli. So quiet in here. All right, added the broccoli, and then the rest of the squash over there. And like I said, you want to make your food look as pretty as possible. So we've got lots of great colors going on there. And the more color, the more vitamins and minerals we got. Going to add that purple cabbage to the top. And then I'm going to I brought my own silverware in spirit of Earth Day, right? You can get these little sets off of Amazon. I got this for $10, which is pretty cool. And it has everything that you need. So you can bring this with you wherever you go. It even has chopsticks, which I thought was pretty cool. So, yep, I'm that girl that brings her own chopsticks to the restaurant. So I'm going to use a little bit of this sauce. And if you want to get fancy, if I had a way to make it look fancy. And that's it. So there is your Buddha bowl. So that's all we've got. We've got protein and we've got fiber and carbs from our black beans. Sweet potato, super high in potassium, vitamin K, vitamin A. And the beta carotene actually converts to a vitamin A, which is really good for your bones, right? Vitamin C seems to steal the show when it comes to vitamins, but you need all the vitamins and minerals, so keep that in mind. Next thing we've got our squash, which is actually high in a mineral manganese, which you also need for your bones, and then blood pressure as well. It helps with that. And then broccoli, superfood, can't go wrong, tons of vitamins and minerals. If you look at this bowl and you look at the protein and you look at the nutrition profile, more importantly, the nutrition profile of this bowl, and compare it to a multivitamin bottle, it would probably be the same. So that is a Buddha bowl, and eating more plant-based foods is definitely more sustainable. It's better for the environment. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but yeah, what questions do we have as far as cooking or veggies or nutrition or anything that I went over?
Sounds good. Well, first of all, it smells amazing. So one of the questions we had was actually about the knife. They said that their knife doesn't cut as well as yours, so if you might want to talk about knives a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So having some of the best things you can have in your kitchen is a good cutting board and a good knife. So with a knife, invest in a knife. Bottom line, invest in a good knife. So these are my two go-tos. So this one was actually a salad master knife of all things, which is kind of crazy, but very similar to a Wusthof knife. And then I also have my Cutco, which was this pink one here. And these are super, super, super sharp. But if you have a knife and it's not very sharp, I recommend taking it you can actually take your knives to Central Market and they will sharpen them. But definitely over time, keep sharpening your knives. Just like you have to take care of anything, you have to take care of your knives. So if you invest in a good knife, take care of it. And you want to make sure that it's sharp. And a good test is take a tomato, and if you cannot cut through that tomato, your knife is not sharp enough, and that is not going to be good, because if you try to cut something and your knife slides off, you could actually end up hurting yourself. So, yeah.
Sounds great. Someone also asked what the recommended fat per day is and how you calculate it.
Okay, so that is different on everyone. There is not necessarily one recommendation of how many grams that you need. It really depends on what's going on your body. Talking about the human body, we all have our own cells, we all have our own DNA, we all have something else going on. But ideally, you want to have fat at every meal, right? And when we're looking at portion sizes, you want to have about either 1 or 2 thumbs worth. Fiber is one of those things that have the recommended daily amount, but when we're looking at the macronutrients, it really depends on your activity level and what's going on. So rule of thumb is when you're building a plate, use your hand for the portion sizes, right? So if you got a piece of protein, you don't want it any bigger than your own palm right here. When you've got veggies, you want a whole fistful. When we've got carbs, you want to have a handful. So if we took this here, this would be my sweet potatoes. That's my main carb, which is also a veggie. Some of these things overlap each other, right? So I've got my carbs, boom, this whole cup here. And then I've got this amount of fat, this is super fatty. Actually, this dressing, if you saw me make it, so you know it's fatty. So that's about 2 thumbs worth in there, right? And then my protein, that's about a palm's worth of the beans, which is going to also add more carbs, but they're good carbs, I promise. And then we've got the veggies, and we've got about a fistful between the broccoli and the squash and the purple cabbage. So I guess to answer the question, definitely just try to have a little bit of fat at each meal. And not to get too gross, but your stool will tell you if you've had too much fat. So look in the toilet, and if it's like runny and gross, you've had too much fat, right? But if it's not, then you need to add more fat into it. I'm not going to get too gross since we just cooked food. That's the human body.
All right, so what's the best way to know what kinds of fruits and vegetables are in season in Fort Worth? Because they've heard that that's a good way to eat plant-based on a budget.
Yes. So talking about plant-based on a budget, something I didn't even talk about, go to the farmer's market. The farmer's market is every Saturday over at the traffic circle, and you can actually talk to the farmers, see what they're growing, see what's in season, go see firsthand what's in season. Another good thing about eating plant-based on a budget is using something like Imperfect Foods. It's a food service, and they really eliminated a lot of food waste because you get the imperfect produce. So you might get a carrot that is curved, or a bell pepper that looks a little wonky, but the taste and the flavor and the nutrition is still there. So there's some tips for that. But as far as knowing what's in season, There's also like a farmer's website that you can go to and check out what's in season, where you're at. But that is a good way to save on money, because think about it, if it's the dead of winter and you really want a papaya and they have to ship it over from somewhere, it's going to cost like triple the amount, and it's not going to be as nutritious because of the long time it's spent on that truck, and then by the time it gets to your plate, it's not going to be as good.
Sounds great. And I actually put the link to local farmers markets in the chat box, so you can check that out. Perfect. Also, people are wanting to know where they can get the recipe, especially for the sauce.
Yeah, I will post it. I'll send it out. If you want, I'll send it to you, and then we'll send it to all the participants if that works.
Sounds great. So since the cost has come up, would you say it's more expensive to eat healthier, or what would you say to somebody who, is really watching a budget?
Yeah, absolutely. I do not think that it is more expensive to eat healthier. I think it's about being more conscious of it, right? So a can of beans, you're looking at less than $1. A lot of times fruits and veggies, like this whole meal right here, this whole bowl is, we've got $1, we've got another $1 for the broccoli. Let's just go on the high end. It was $1 for the sweet potato and $1 for the squash. So we're looking at a $4 bowl, maybe $5 when we add in the avocado. So this is a $5 bowl, right? But I've got leftover dressing, I've got leftover beans, and I've got some leftover veggies, so I can make another meal out of it. We're looking at $5 are really going to stretch into hopefully 2 meals. And look at this cabbage, right? I can do a lot with that. So that's $5 right there. That's going to stretch a lot further than if you just go to the dollar menu, spend $5, and you're eating a bunch of food that you're going to be hungry later. And, something that I love to tell people is invest in your health, because it's going to save you money in medical bills later. So the healthier that you can eat, the better off you are, because it's going to, not that it'll even out, but if you're just going through the dollar menu, you're spending $1 on breakfast and $1 on lunch, where you're just eating a bunch of food that's adding up into your body, which in turn is going to lead to things later.
Sounds good. We also had another question of what are the best foods for weight loss?
Best foods for weight loss. All right. So here's the deal about weight loss. Nutrition. Nutrition does not equal weight loss, right? Weight loss is traditionally a calorie deficit. So the best foods for weight loss are going to be nutrient dense but low on the calorie end. So like this squash right here, the squash is like 30 calories for the entire squash. So if you're really trying to lose weight but do it in a healthy way, aim for those veggies that are high in nutrients, low in calories. So the highest calorie thing here is going to be the beans and sweet potatoes. And when it comes to weight loss, it's about having portion control and eating mindfully and slowing down. There's a lot. We can go on a whole conversation on weight loss, right? There's no foods that are going to be like your go-to foods for losing weight. It's more about the balance and having a healthier relationship with food and checking in with yourself, right? Like setting a calorie budget for yourself. Just like we budget our money, just like we budget our time, set a calorie budget for yourself. And there's lots of great little apps out there that will help you get to that. But have that budget, maybe get with a nutritionist or a health coach or something like that, write it out, and then find out what foods fit into that budget and eat those. But what you definitely want to stay away from are going to be your high-calorie foods, your sugars, your processed foods. You can go to McDonald's and get a meal that's like 2,000 calories, right? And if you're trying to lose weight, you want to be way less than 2,000 calories. Not way less, but you don't want to have one meal. If I only get 2,000 calories in one day, I'm not going to waste it on one meal. I'm an eater, man. I want to make sure I get a healthy, nutritious breakfast, healthy, nutritious lunch, healthy, nutritious dinner, and then maybe some snacks in between if I'm still hungry. So just being conscious of nutrition content and choosing foods that are lower in the calories, higher in the nutrients than when it comes to weight loss. And of course, exercise, sleep, water, and ways that you manage your stress are going to affect everything when it comes to weight loss. It's not just about the food.
Sounds great. Well, people are loving the recipe. So what are some easy ways that you can kind of vary it up?
Yeah. So what I like about this is here are, 3 different ways to cook veggies. 4 really if you go raw. And the ways you can cook that up is just using different veggies in different ways. So maybe you would rather have steamed the squash, or you would have rather sauteed the broccoli, and then adding in spices. Spices are the spice of life. No pun intended, but it's all about the spices that you add to stuff, which is going to enhance the flavor. So like these sweet potatoes, I love adding the cayenne, the cinnamon, the garlic, salt, and pepper, because it just brings out so much flavor in them. So I highly encourage you playing around with spices. Go to the store, try different spices. I know some places that sell just the individual spices and not like, you don't have to go and buy the whole thing. Some stores have it where you can just buy like a teaspoon or a tablespoon. I know Central Market actually does that, and I've done it before for recipes, and I think it was like 15 cents one time I was like, I just need a teaspoon of this. I don't want a whole jar of it. So go and play around with spices just to really change things up. And this is, traditional roasting is a little bit of olive oil, 450, 20 minutes, you're good there. Steaming, same thing, you want to look at it and make sure the texture is what you want and the color is what you want. You can tell when something's been steamed for too long. And, if you do steam something for too long and it doesn't taste the way that you want, blend it into a sauce, blend it into a soup. Really try to reduce your waste by throwing something out if it's not necessarily what you want. Same thing with flavor. If the flavor is just not there, add more spices to it or add something else to it.
Sounds great. We had a comment that says, my teen daughter is a high-level athlete and wants to move towards a plant-based diet, but really isn't into beans. I worry about her getting a good balance of macronutrients to support her activities.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, you want to make sure, especially plant-based athletes, you're getting more protein. Like you can use tofu, tempeh, soybeans. If she doesn't like beans, beans are like the nutrition powerhouse, right? They really are. They're going to have the most protein when it comes to plant-based, but definitely try tofu. Go to the other plant-based sources of protein, and depending upon what is her activity, right? Because protein helps build the muscle, but don't think that you necessarily have to put in a ton of animal protein, and start looking at blogs and people like Richard Roll. He's this crazy triathlete who's vegan, who's like, his diet is insane, but it's all plant-based. And it's not a ton of beans, but it's a lot of plant-based foods. And then, it's getting in tune with your body and what works. So, yeah.
Sounds good. And so you kind of touched on it, but where would be a way we could find more plant-based recipes for people who are just starting out or looking for new recipes?
Yeah. Well, of course, bluezones.com. Just if you go on like Pinterest or Instagram, there's especially with like last year, a lot of people taking everything online. If you just look at vegan bloggers, plant-based cookers, all kinds of things out there, there's so many resources at our fingertips if we the power of Google or the power of using these social media platforms for what you're actually looking for rather than scrolling and looking at political things or, comparison or whatever. Use them to your advantage. Like go out there and seek out these plant-based bloggers and things like that. And then, old school, go to the bookstore and look at the cooking, the cookbook section and find a book that is plant-based cooking or vegan cooking and open it up, take a few looks at it. I will tell you, back maybe 10 years ago, there was a cookbook called Veganomicon when it first came out. It was like all about vegan cooking, and I got it and I was like, oh, this is awesome. The ingredients were like this long, and I was like, what is this? So what is this? I don't know what this is. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I always encourage people, if you want a cookbook, open it, look at it. If you recognize the things, cool, go for it. But if it's like way abstract for you, don't do that. Keep it simple. I will tell you, selfish plug for Blue Zones Project, our cookbook, not ours, but like the Blue Zones overall cookbook is pretty good, and the recipes are very simple. Also, we do, as Blue Zones Project, cooking demos all the time out in the community. We partner with different registered dietitians and chefs out in the community to bring more plant-based recipes to you. So hope that answers your question.
Sounds good. And then sometimes when people hear plant-based, they may think, oh, I can never have a hamburger. Or what would you say to those people, or even getting their family on board with plant-based? So
what I love about plant-based is that your diet is based off plants. It does not mean I am an end-all, be-all vegan or vegetarian. It means I eat more plants than I eat other things. And having those conversations with family sometimes can be a little difficult, but just explain to them I'm eating this way for my health and for my longevity, and hopefully they respect the boundaries there. But also, if you want to have a burger every now and then, have a burger. The idea with Blue Zones Project and eating healthier in general, it's not a one size end all be all. I have to be all in vegan or vegetarian to be healthy. No, that's not what it's about. If there's a day that you're like, I really want a burger, go have the burger and enjoy it, and like really enjoy it. Get what you want, and it comes the same thing with any food, right? Like food is not good, food is not bad. There's nutritious food and there's not so nutritious food. So when it comes to something that you really want, really craving, go have it and enjoy it, and then move on about your day. And a good rule of thumb there is 80% of the time, eat good, eat clean. eat healthy, eat nutritious. And then that other 20%, have what you want. My birthday was last week, and I definitely had cake, and I had chocolate pie. It was homemade from my grandma. I wasn't going to say no to that. But, there are moments in your life when, food's a big part of our life. It's a big emotional thing. So go have the foods that you want, but majority of the time, have the healthier stuff.
That's great. So any suggestions for kid-friendly plant-based recipes? She says her kids are very picky.
Aren't they all? So are a lot of adults. I would say, any recommendations? So, maybe there are actually some things like food art. I don't know if you've heard of this, but it's where kids will make food art, and they make it out of fruit and veggies, and it makes it more fun for them to even play with fruit or veggies, and they actually might like it better because of the colors and things like that. That's one idea. Or just play around with different recipes. Find out what they like. And find out also with kids, it's a big texture thing a lot of the times, right? A lot of times kids love their chicken nuggets or their french fries because they're fried and crispy. Well, what else is crispy? Think about the veggies that are crispy and really find out what they like. And just, make food fun. Make food fun and try not to demonize anything or force anything, especially with kids or adults for that matter. Don't be like, oh, well, you have to eat this. Well, you have to tell me what to eat, right? Let's make it taste good and let's make it fun for everyone. And so with that, just trying different things and trying simple things. Just look out for some different recipes. Yeah, I wish I had more information, but I am not a parent myself, and so I'm an aunt. Do good stuff with my niece, but not a parent, so I don't have too much information on that.
Well, sounds good. I love your suggestion about making it fun. So I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and one of the things I do, especially when we're eating salads, is we say how our body loves salads. And so I'll be like, your body is saying, thank you, and I'll, bend down by her belly and kind of make a funny face. And so I've noticed that she starts eating salads because she's like, what is my belly saying now?
Yeah.
And so that's one way. I love the idea of making it fun. So. All right.
We had a handout one time that was like the superpowers of food, and it was like red does this, yellow does this, and just like making it fun. As cheesy as it sounds, but make it fun.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Jekka, that's all the questions we have. Do you have anything else you want to add about Blue Zones or plant-based eating?
Not that I can think of. Thanks for having me here today with Blue Zones Project. We do a Live Well series once a month. It's free. It's a 1-hour lunch and learn. So this month was what you see today. Next month, we're going to talk about the science of exercise. There's actually 4 exercises that your body needs: cardio, strength training, balance, and flexibility. So we're going to talk about that. In June, we're going to circle back around and do more plant-based stuff. In July, we've got a nice mindfulness downshifting program that we've partnered with other people in the community, talking about how to downshift and be more mindful, especially with your kiddos around. So check those out. Those are free through Blue Zones Project once a month. And then also on Mondays and Wednesdays on our Facebook page, we do a 10 at 10. It's a 10-minute micro break, and we do everything from yoga, meditation, mindfulness, recipes, connecting out in the community. Our goal with Blue Zones Project is to make those healthy choices easier and more understandable and approachable, right? Anytime we try to do something that's in the world of health and wellness, I know for me it's it gets overwhelming. And you Google healthy and you get 100 different things. So with Blue Zones Project, we are just trying to make healthier choices easier and educating everyone in our community on how to do that. So yeah, thank you guys so much.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for the collaboration, and we appreciate it. Thanks for watching, everyone.